Hey guys, Zach here at etrailer.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Kuat NV 2.0 4-bike platform style bike rack on our 2019 Hyundai Tucson. This is going to be one of the best options if you're looking to carry 4 bikes, but especially if you care about how they're carried. So you can see I have a carbon fiber bike here, and when it comes to carbon bikes, it's important to not put a lot of stress on the frame. So there are 4-bike options of the hanging and platform style, but they grab the frame. It's a lot of stress on the frame going down the road. So we like to suggest wheel-mounted carriers like we have here today. So it grabs the bike by the front wheel, has a strap on the back one. We have no contact on the frame. So that's really important with some of those higher-end bikes or if you care about the finish. Now, this is a rather large bike rack. It sticks out pretty far. It weighs a lot. There's no getting around it. If you're carrying 4 bikes, though, you've got some friends with you or some family. So you're definitely going to want some help with this part. Since I just have one bike on, it's not too bad. But to tilt this away to get access into our hatch is important. So with this one, though, there is one slight issue. We'll pull this lever right here. So if this was fully loaded, you could see I wouldn't be able to reach through here. I'd have to come around and have somebody help support it. So we'll pull that lever down. And as I lower this down, it makes contact with the ground. That's not the best thing in the world. It's not the end of the world, though, either, because we're not driving like this. So if you just gently rest it down, you can throw maybe a towel or something down to prevent that from scratching. But that finish is a really nice powder coat on there. So I think it's going to hold up as long as you're not dragging it and dropping it very hard. So then we can get access into our hatch here. You can see we have pretty good clearance. I don't think that we're going to have any issues unless you have really wide handlebars. It might be a little tight there, but we can bring that up, get anything out that we forgot, lower that back down, and then we can get this lifted back up into place. You can see it just gets a nice solid click there for us to let us know that it's held in place. I'm going to remove my back strap here. And this just has a little lever that releases the strap. You can get that tightened down just by pulling it, push that button and let it go. And this will slide the entire back length of the cradle there to accommodate different wheel bases. And it's hard to see back there, but each cradle on the opposite ends is going to have a cable lock included. So we have cable lock that's included. We'd wrap this around our frame, lock it back into itself, and that's all key to like. And that will match the lock that's also down on our hitch that we'll take a look at in just a minute. But this stores right in there. We'll get that put in place. So now we can take our bike off. We'll just squeeze that little button right there, get this brought up all the way, and then that just ratchets down. We'll get it up out of the way. Get our bike lifted up off here. And you can see those cradles up front. It's going to accommodate some different bike tires. So I'm going to push this back. I like to store mine. Right here, there's a couple of different grooves. So it'll accommodate that road bike that I had, and it widens out a little bit for a standard mountain bike. And then you can see here, it's also going to work with some fat tire bikes up to about 4.8 inches. If you have something wider than that, you're going to have to pick up an additional kit so the strap's long enough in the back. That's sold separately. We'll get this put in place. Now when it comes to the weight capacity on this, this is a heavy bike rack, so it's going to take a lot of your tongue weight up on your hitch. So definitely check that. But when it comes to what bikes you can put on here, if you're carrying 4 bikes, it can carry 40 pounds per bike. But if you're only going to carry 2 bikes, you can carry 60 pounds up front. So we always recommend putting the heaviest bikes up front and then working our way back. So it can work with some electric bikes just as long as we're not loading it up all the way. So now I'm going to give you some measurements just to show you how much this adds to the back of the vehicle, because this is really going to be a challenge whenever you're backing up if you're in tighter spots. But you're going to have that issue with all bike racks. So this will add about 49.5 inches to the back of our vehicle from our bumper. And then the closest point is probably going to be about right here. And that is right at about 6 inches. And Normally I'd give ground clearance a little bit different spot, but I'm going to give you this one back here just because it is so long. And I think that we'll just do this one right here. This is the lowest point on this cradle. That's at about 21 3/4 of an inch. So it's still pretty high off the ground. We get that from the raised shank there to the platform. So I think you'd be okay unless you got into some really steep incline. But I'm going to get this lifted up into the stowed position. So if we're at the trailhead and we don't want to take up more of the parking space than we already are, we can get this lifted into place. You can see it holds in place until we press that lever again. We just put our foot there, which is kind of nice about this style. And it clicks back in place. Now it does sit pretty close to the vehicle there, but I don't think we're going to have any issues with that coming into contact. Everything's held in place well. These arms have a good amount of friction behind it, so they're not going to go sliding around anywhere. I'm going to get this point down here. I think this is the closest point. That's at about 3.5 inches, so I think we're more than fine there. And now we can get a ground clearance here at this knob, and that is 11 3/4 of an inch. So all of this is solid steel here, so that's going to hold up if you did. This is going to be rubber coated, and what this is this is the tightening tool that allows us to have that anti-rattle device built into this. So with this much weight on the back of your vehicle, if you didn't have some sort of anti-rattle device, this would be moving around. You would feel it in the car. It's going to be pretty significant, but it's a pretty standard feature nowadays to have anti-rattle built in. You can see I'm shaking the whole car like this. There's maybe a little, no, not really much up and down. Sometimes you get a little up and down, but not today. And that's held in place on our 2-inch hitch here today. So this only works with 2-inch hitches. And you can see it has this included pin and lock, and that's that lock we were talking about that will be key to like with the bikes. And what's nice is this is tool free, so I get that anti-rattle feature without having to get out a wrench or a socket wrench. Now if you need a little help getting it a little bit tighter, you can use a tool. It's included. It's just like a little Allen key that you'd put in here to get you a little bit more leverage to get that tightened down. But it's fairly simple to use, but if you need it, it's included. But overall, I think this bike rack looks really good. I really like the finish on this one a lot. If you don't need the 4 bikes all the time, you can take these back 2 cradles off, and you can make it just a 2 bike, which is really nice. Something that you might be looking at is just the regular NV 2.0, and that is pretty much an identical bike rack. The finish is a little bit different, but that one includes a bike repair stand. So you can add that on later to this one if you'd like, and all that is just an arm that comes out so you can service your bike while you're out at the trails. But other than that, it's very, very similar bike rack. But overall, if you're looking for a way to carry 4 bikes to the trail or to the park, and you've got some higher end bikes and you want a really nice secure way that's also going to look really good on the back of the car, I think this is a good way to go. But that's going to do it for a look at the Kuat NV 2.0 4-bike platform style bike rack on our 2019 Hyundai Tucson.